PotomacBeads. Join me in making these ocean breeze earrings. They are a beautiful mosaic of seed beads and gemstones and wire. If you need any materials, check out the links below me to shop with us online. Also remember to give a little thumbs up and comment any changes, questions, or ideas that you have to better this beading community. Gather up your materials and let's get started. So to get started in our design, I have a 6mm lapis here, and I have about 5 inches of 20 gauge Beadalon wire. I'm using the Beadalon Art Wire brand, and I am using 24 and 20 gauge wire. About 5 inches of 20 gauge and about 12 per earring of my 24 gauge. I've made a loop at the end of my wire with just a round nose pliers, turning it over and making the loop. This may get cut off at the end, or if you make a nice loop, you may want to keep it. I'm going to put my 6mm lapis bead onto my 20 gauge wire, and then I'm going to grab my 12 inches of my 24 gauge wire. What I'm going to do right now is I am going to wrap this wire, the 24 gauge, around the 20 gauge. You notice I have a little bit of a tail. That makes it a little bit easier to hold on to. Once I have it wrapped around there, I'm going to straighten it out with my fingers. I'm going to go in and I'm actually going to cut off the end of my wire. I'm cutting off my 24 gauge wire, and if you need to make a nice clean cut, you can actually slide the whole thing off your 20 gauge wire. Cut so you just have one loop of your 24 gauge. Slide it back onto your 20 gauge wire, and the lapis bead back on. Now I'm going to move kind of freely around this longer piece of the 20 gauge as I wrap my 24 gauge along the sides. To start out, we're going to grab our 2mm faceted amazonite to get that nice kind of ocean color, and I'm going to put on 6 of those 2mm beads. If you don't have 2mm gemstones, you can always use some 11/0 seed beads. With the 24 gauge wire, these will fit perfectly, and I'm just going to load onto my wire 6 of them. I'm going to load 1, 2, and then magically keep loading till you have 6. Once you have those 6 2mm beads on, we're going to wrap our 24 gauge wire so the beads sit right along the side of that 6mm bead. And you'll notice I'm not right at the end of that loop. I still have a bunch of space there. And I'm going to wrap this wire one time, the 24 gauge wire, with the 2mm amazonite, and I'm going to wrap that once around the 20 gauge wire. Kind of straighten out that wire with your hands and let that kind of go to the side. And then you're going to pick up your next 6 of your 2mm faceted round beads. So they are tiny, but they are beautiful. And you can use your wire like a needle. When you get to the point of putting on the 15/0 seed beads, that will be very, very helpful. So I'm going to go through, add a total of 6, and then we're going to wrap on the other side of the lapis piece. Now that I have my 6 new 2mm beads on, I'm going to take that wire around to the other side of the lapis, right above where you have the previous piece, and you're going to do the same thing. Take the wire over top of the 20 gauge, wrap it around the back of the 20 gauge and over to the opposite side. Again, with your fingers, just kind of straighten out that 24 gauge wire. We're going to repeat this exact same thing. This time, instead of using 6, you're going to use 9 beads of your 2mm amazonite beads. Once you have those 9 beads on, you're going to go, you guessed it, down to the end of the bead, over the top, the 24 gauge of the 20 gauge, wrap once around nice and tight, and right over to the other side. From here, 9 more of your 2mm go on to make the end of that second loop. After that, we're going to wrap around one more time here at the top, and then we're going to continue with 26 15/0 seed beads. After doing your second group of 9 of your amazonite beads, now you're doing 24 of your 15/0 seed beads. Now keep in mind, you're always going over the top of the 20 gauge wire and then coming back over the top. These earrings actually do have a front and a back where you're going to see the wire a little bit more on the back and a little bit less on the front. Going to the other side then, I'm going to do a number to match, gathering up 24 more of my 15/0s to be that exterior row of seed beads. Now that all my seed beads are on, I'm going to go to the top of the wire, again over the top, come over to the opposite side, and again, I'm still not at the end of this because guess what? Again, it will slide along that 20 gauge. Here on the exterior then, I'm going to straighten out that 24 gauge wire to be just a little exterior frame along the piece. You don't have to do that. You can keep going. You can make it bigger. You can make it smaller. A nice coral pop would look great on this too. I'm going to kind of hold my fingers over top of the edge. You can also do this in peacock colors. It would look like a peacock feather. Just go right along the exterior of the seed beads up to the other side. Again, lay that wire right along the exterior of the seed beads. I'm going to push that a little bit closer together there. Here at the top then, 1, 2 loops. Pinch that down a little bit. And you're finished up. Now what I'm going to do here at the end, where the loop currently is, I'm going to cut that wire really short. I'm going to take that wire and push my piece right up along the design. So if you need to, sometimes you kind of need to turn the wire, but you can usually push it up right along the design. If you can't push it up right along the design, you wrap too tightly, here's your resolve. You're going to take your piece here, cut down that little loop so it's a little bit smaller because this is actually going to be the bottom of your earring. Make your loop a little bit smaller and tuck it and hide it behind your piece. From here then, after we tuck it behind the piece, and you can do that with your needle nose pliers if you want to. You can also hang a little head pin down if you want to, and have another lapis bead hanging from the bottom. After tucking that to the back, I'm going to come up here to the top, grab my round nose pliers, and make a loop out of this extra wire. Now you notice I have a ton of extra wire. That's because I have enough for my next earring. You can also, if you want to, keep the loop on the end. This would make a great necklace center as well too. Once I get done, I'm going to cut that extra wire off of my project. In there with my wire cutters. I have my nice eye pin then at the top. I'm going to open up my eye pin, slide on my ear wire, close it up, and finish up my beautiful sea breeze earrings. Excited to wear them as the weather gets warmer and I can walk along the ocean. Thanks so much in joining me in making these beautiful ocean breeze earrings. Remember with this design, this is really a technique that you can expand on and really create on your own. Grab some small beads, a bigger bead for the center, some wire, and go crazy. Remember, you can comment below if you made any changes, have any suggestions, ideas, or questions. You can also give a little thumbs up and share the video with those that you might think would love it. Remember also you can subscribe if you haven't already. Hit that little bell in the corner so that way you never miss anything from us here at Potomac Beads. Thanks so much for watching and enjoy learning this herringbone wire technique in your ocean breeze earrings.